4, 3, 2.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Good News Books. I'm your host, Sarah Livingston. Today on the show, we have John Rock. You might remember him from a previous show. He is a pastor and author and founder of the ministry, thesharing.org. We had him discuss his book, The Forgotten Church, and he's written another book that is absolutely hysterical, which we're going to share in a few minutes. But before we get to that part, I wanted him to tell us a little bit about himself first. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you, Sarah. About myself, I'm a normal guy. I became Christian at 24. Married to a woman I don't deserve. Have children I didn't think I would have, and thankful for them. I work as a full-time minister to nursing homes and to AFC homes, and I'm just a hobbyist writer. I'm not great, but I can do what I have to do to get it done. But I enjoy writing and stuff. And thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah. What is AFC? You'd mentioned that.
AFC, Adult Foster Care Facility. It's where people who are mentally challenged or physically ill will live if they can't live in their homes.
Okay, and you go minister to them.
Yes, anywhere they can't get out of their home to go to church, I go to them.
Okay.
And so
That's wonderful.
I've been doing that for about 15 years now, and
Okay.
it's been a great blessing and a good ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get into your new book, I want to talk about The Forgotten Church in case our viewers today haven't heard anything about this book. Can you just share a little bit about The Forgotten Church?
Forgotten Church, my #1 bestseller, and
Yay.
so it's a autobiography of our first 10 years of ministry, and just the things that we've gone through, the people we've met, and concepts of when people go into nursing homes to do ministry. They think about we have to go in to get people saved, and they forget that there are people who are saved who just need to be cared for and loved and remembered there. And I find that's the majority of the people I deal with. It's not that they're, but they're all of different denominations. So if you have to be kind of open and allow people to just say, yeah, I want to worship Jesus, and they need to be comforted, even if they don't believe all the dogma that I believe in my denomination. They still need to be cared for.
So you just like read scriptures with them or sing with them, things like that?
Yeah, we do a full service. We do singing. I give a short Bible lesson. You don't get much more than 10 minutes with residents because they'll fall asleep on you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they're not ashamed to fall asleep on you too, which is fine.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. What a wonderful ministry.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, your newest book is called The Crazy Antics of Grandma Tina. The artwork is wonderful. What's the inspiration behind this book?
Grandma Tina is a collection of stories that I wrote for my children.
Okay.
It just started off where I wrote a story. Started off with one story, and the kids loved it. They giggled, they squealed. So I wrote another story, and then I read it to them, and they giggled and squealed and loved her. and then of course my mother-in-law came over one day, and they were telling her about Grandma Tina, so they wanted me to read it to her. So she's there, and I'm reading it off the computer, and she's thinking this is something I got off the internet. And she says, boy, that she liked it.
Yeah.
And so she was the one who really got me to publish these, and she said, you need to write more of them and publish them.
Is she Grandma?
What's that? No. Grandma Tina doesn't exist in the real world.
Okay.
No. Grandma Tina was based loosely off of Granny Clampett from the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah.
And so
I can see that.
Fia
Having read
from the Golden Girls. and so but no, Grandma Tina does not exist. People always say, who is she like? Nobody. And even if she was, I wouldn't fess up to it.
Okay, give them a little idea of like what each chapter's like, how it starts, and then.
Well, I start off every chapter. Starts off with the granddaughter. She has a granddaughter, Claire, who comes in to check up on her every chapter she says, "Tina, it's me, Claire," and that's just something I just started doing.
Yeah, I like that.
And so she comes in, and then there's a new adventure with her meeting with her grandmother or checking up on her or something like that.
And she's
So
always up to something, some sort of antic.
She is up to something.
And it's hilarious.
And I thank you for that,
Yeah.
because the kids love it. Adults, not so much, but some adults don't appreciate her.
Really?
Yeah, my
Aw.
grandmother, who's 90, I gave her a book, and I asked her what she thought, and she says, "I didn't like it, John. I'm 90." She says, "I'm old. It's not funny." And so I wasn't trying to pick on people
Right,
who are
right.
elderly, but
No.
she did, and it's fifth grade humor.
Yeah.
So of course and my grandmother knew that it's written for the kids, not for 90-year-olds. Though, so she didn't care for it. I have had a couple other people thought it was gross, and so but that's all right. You're not fifth grade, so I've never had a fifth grader
Right,
not
because
like
a
it.
fifth grader will laugh about boogers.
Yes.
Whereas an older person will like get a napkin now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So,
Right.
yeah, if you're still in that period of life when you're still eating them and no one's looking, you'll
there's-
like Grandma Tina.
So the inspiration behind Tina the character.
Tina the character, yeah, was Grandma, was Granny Clampett, and Sophia for the largest part. There was another character in Janet Ivanovich, if you know who she is, and I'm not suggesting her books. I mean, it was a long time ago that I read them. They're more adult and they're vulgar, but there was one character in her grandmother, who was just
Silly?
off the charts
Okay.
funny, and so she was another one that helped me to develop the antics of.
Yeah, this grandma you
Grandma.
probably wouldn't want to leave alone.
No, not necessarily.
She get into some trouble.
Yes, yes, she does.
Okay. What do your kids think about this book and it being published?
The kids loved it. They loved. My daughter helped. My 13-year-old helped edit.
Okay.
She did a final
good.
read through a couple times, and I still have grammatical errors in there. I've never been able to just completely get anything perfectly.
Yeah, I
clean
think
of
every
error.
book has at least 8, even when it's gone through rigorous editing.
Okay, I don't know if I have 8, but that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
But yeah, even my daughter, she loved being a part of it. She got her name in the book as
Aw.
helping edit, and the kids were all on board. They loved it. They loved when I started developing the artwork. When me and Mike started developing the form of Grandma Tina and Claire, they loved being part of me getting the pictures through the email and saying, okay, which do we like best and
That's
why?
great.
And they loved being part of the whole process.
Aw.
So,
Absolutely. It's so exciting.
and then they're always coming up with ideas like, oh, this is a Grandma Tina thing for a Grandma Tina story, and so that still to this day they are. This is great.
Are
So,
they making up their own?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, my daughter, she was writing stories about Grandma Tina, fan fiction, and which is perfectly fine, and but I've never done much with it. I probably should let her just post it on our blog
Yeah.
for Grandma Tina.
You never know. It might cause other young people who are reading it to want to join in,
Yeah, that's right.
write their
That's right.
own Grandma Tina story, and then
They'd be welcome to.
that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love the way that in the book how you came up with the name of Tina. Did you want to share that?
Oh yeah, Tina.
For Claire, whenever, because Claire, her granddaughter, is calling her grandma, and then one day she says, "Don't call me grandma, call
Right.
me Tina."
Yes, yeah. Well, Grandma Tina has. I'm trying to recall. She doesn't like being called grandma because it makes her feel old.
Yes, which is silly
So
because she's
she-
8. Yeah.
She wants to be called Tina, and her granddaughter asked her why Tina, and it's she says because that's the name of my favorite character on television, and she, while digging into it, she discovers her favorite character is Ginger from Gilligan's Island.
Yep.
And Claire's like, well, her name's Ginger, but she's played by Tina Louise. And so, of course, she wants to be called Tina. And Claire's just like, whatever. So she just goes along with that and says, all right, so now she calls her Tina.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
kind of odd, but
Yeah,
for
it
her
is.
to call her
yeah,
own grandma.
We usually call our grandmas grandma.
Do you know anybody personally that is like Grandma Tina?
Unless you're in 5th grade, no.
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 Okay.
Her antics and her humor is all 5th grade. So
How much research was involved in writing a book for children?
absolutely none.
Oh,
Absolutely none. I wasn't trying to write a book for children. I was writing stories for my kids.
yes.
And I would change things, like if a gag fell flat, my kids are just looking at me like, so if they were just giving me the dead stare, I'd be like, okay, I'll change that, and then I'd read it again the next night, and they'd be like, okay, we like that.
Oh,
And I
okay.
started doing some things in the very beginning. I wanted to do more of it, like I wanted them to run to Google to find out answers to things. Like at one part, Grandma Tina references the Hindenburg, and her granddaughter has no idea what the Hindenburg is. Well, neither did my kids. So that got us to go to the computer, do some research on what the Hindenburg was, and so then they were learning while they did that.
That's great.
I use larger words too sometimes that people don't understand or kids don't understand. I want you to learn them. So my kids be like, "What's that mean?" I'd be like, "Pull out your dictionary and look it up." You know, so.
I thought it was funny how she had her Google the Hindenburg right before they were getting ready to go on a hot air balloon.
Right.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of fun. Let's go up together on the hot air balloon right before you look up this massive crash.
That was the gag too.
How long did it take you to write it and put it all together?
It took, gosh, a year, maybe 2. Yeah, actually it took 2 or 3 years because I've been writing stories from the time my kids were younger.
Okay.
You know, but then it took time. Editing's always the hardest part for me.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had to get Mike on board to draw, and wait for him to get the drawings up and going, and decide on the artwork. And so it really wasn't that complicated. It was just a matter of getting to it, because he worked and I worked, and this wasn't our full-time job, so we had to fit it in when we could.
Yeah, that's about average. I would say a few years for
Oh, is
books.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it
Because even
wouldn't-
just the editing and layout process can take up to 6 months once it's in house.
once I have the parts, I can put it all together really quick. And if I had editors at my beck and call,
Yeah.
but I didn't. You know,
Yeah.
I had my mother-in-law.
Yeah, your copy
and
editors.
friends,
Yeah.
and so it's not as if I hired this out. We did this all in house.
That's great.
The resources we had.
Okay, Grandma Tina breaks a unique world record. What is it? I mean, don't tell what it is, because you'll give it away. But
That's right.
Yeah.
She breaks a world record, but the fun part about that was that my son helped me develop that.
Oh, okay.
My 10-year-old, he was 10 or 9 at the time, I don't remember, but we were trying to come up with a world record to break. So he came up with the idea of what to break. I came up with how to break it, and all the antics that went into it, and that was fun. I mean, he really enjoyed, and I discovered through all this, my son is funny. He can come up with some gags really quick. Now, I love my daughter. She's a few years older, and she comes up with all sorts of ideas, but I just look at him like, that's not funny. My son is funny. I mean, he just comes up with this, I can work with that. So
Similar sense of humor.
yeah, I mean, I actually think my daughter's got a similar sense of humor to me.
Okay.
But my son has just a different way of thinking about things. Like one that'll come out one day of a Grandma Tina, if I ever get to the next book. One day he had to go to the doctor, and my wife was getting ready to take him to the doctor, and they're all discussing about whether he's going to get a shot. And he just says, well, you can't stick what you can't catch. And so that just gave us, and we all started laughing. That would be great for Grandma Tina, right?
Right.
We're just laughing about him running around in his undies, getting away from the poker, and so I thought Grandma Tina would do that, and that's something she would say.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he just comes up with these witty things sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Now, Grandma Tina in the book has a boyfriend named Earl. What is his story?
Grandma Tina, I think she's 83, and she has a boyfriend named Earl who's quite a bit younger than she is, though we never know how young he is. And we have no details about him, really. And it drives my kids crazy. Tell us about Earl. No, he is going to be the
Mysterious?
forever mysterious one, but he is the one that provides her with all the things that she wouldn't normally be able to get. So, and so he takes care of me being able to get that into all the stories. But he's just one of those mysterious people that are there, but you don't know anything about him.
Did he give her the musket
He gave her the rifle.
to shoot the groundhog?
Yep, got her the rifle, and I got her the explosives. He gets her anything.
It is so funny. I laughed and laughed.
Did
Okay,
you?
what's your personal favorite thing that she does or antic in the book?
Let me see if I wrote this down because where you at? That one.
14.
I think I forgot to write that down. Well, I was looking at them in the. I'm trying to. I think it's Tina's Fury. Tina's Fury is a hilarious fifth grade humor thing where she has wicked gas, and
Where she's giving her a ride around town?
yes, and or it could have been when she had to use the outhouse at the construction site. I don't know. They're all so funny. They're all so good. I enjoyed writing them. It's almost easier, I think, to tell you what my kids' favorites are.
Yeah, I'd like to know that.
Yeah, my kids, I think, they love the segment where she is in the hot air balloon.
Okay.
And just her mischievousness there, and how that whole thing plays out, and so the hot air balloon I think is my kids' favorite. But really we love them, most of all of them. I mean, there's 3 or 4 big ones we love. Some that aren't our favorites, but and not everyone can be our favorite.
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
My wife, she's never read the book,
Okay.
and
Well, she's in for a treat when she does.
well, I don't think she will. She hears us overread it.
Oh, okay, so
you
she's
know.
already heard about
Like
it.
one day we had some time we had to kill, so they wanted me to read a chapter. So I was reading to the kids, and my wife says, "That's in the book?" And she's embarrassed. She says, "My friends are reading this." I'm like, "I'm sorry. I thought you knew what was in the book." So she,
It's like kind of like Captain Underwear, that's really
see, I've never
or
read
Underpants or something.
Yeah,
That's a really
I've never
famous
read all that stuff,
book
but
for
I
young
guess
elementary.
Yeah, they've got some real zingers out there now for, I guess, young people. And I don't think I'm unique in the humor, just in the presentation.
Yeah. Okay. Tina has a neighbor named Miss Baker, and they
Miss-
have this like feud. Can you tell us a little bit more about her?
Mrs. Baker is her arch enemy. I was reading through today. Yeah, I've even got her listed on the back that they're like arch enemies, and I picked out something I wanted to read that would
Okay.
bring out the point. It was when she was in the when she was in the balloon, and she is floating over, and the granddaughter brings up a thing. She says, she says, "We floated over the city square, the police station, and the old town clock and monument, and we saw the splash pad where people were playing, and my grandmother's neighbor. And I noticed one of those event tents in Mrs. Baker's backyard. Hey, look, Mrs. Baker's having some sort of function in her backyard today. Oops, I forgot. Mrs. Baker was having all the ladies of the neighborhood come for a catered outdoor luncheon and gin rummy contest. Mrs. Baker holds this event every year, but my grandmother has not been invited for 11 years.
Whoa.
She was invited to the very first one 12 years ago, but Grandma was under the weather and got sick. She threw up in the punch bowl. Mrs. Baker has never forgiven her for getting sick. She swears Grandma did it just to embarrass her. So it's that kind of thing, and I think that's where the grudge comes from. They're very competitive, so they, they'll dress up their garbage cans and see who has the best garbage can. That gag came actually from my own grandmother, who had a neighbor, and my grandmother loved putting out a little bird feeder for hummingbirds. Well, of course, once Grandma put hers out, the neighbor down the way had to put out a better one.
Oh boy!
So they're fighting over this one hummingbird, and it's going back and forth. And I thought, that's funny, is this competition that happened? Because then my grandmother had to get a couple more, and so she called me up, come hang this bird feeder. So
that's funny. The artist and illustrator for your book is
Mike Kirsten.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about him.
Mike Kirsten is, he teaches art at the Chesterfield Library. Oh. And we got to meet him through that because he does a lot of kids' classes and teaches the children art. And so I needed an artist for this book, and I just asked him one day.
Just asked him outright when you were there?
Yeah, and he loved it. He loved the idea. I gave him the manuscript to read through, and he said he'd like to do it. And so I gave him complete charge of all the artwork. Draw what you want. Don't draw what you don't want.
Yeah.
And I put no boundaries on him. We agreed to 2 drawings per chapter, and he just he went through a spell where. It was like the summer came up, and all of a sudden his whole schedule got changed. But in August, he was able to get back on it, and then he just started burning them out. And it didn't take long. Okay. But he'd never been published or done anything like this, so he loved it, the opportunity, and it was easy. It was easy. A lot of times people get caught up on money, and neither of us were caught up in that.
That's good.
I didn't write for money. I wrote to be published, and he didn't draw for money. He drew to be published. So.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It was a good relationship, and.
Well, they're spectacular drawings.
Yeah, he is very good.
Yeah.
The cover.
Yes.
The cover is interesting because I went into the library.
He works for Gilligan's Island, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I went in, and he's drawing this on a computer at the library in paint.
Wow.
And he's now I don't think he drew all the pieces. I think he drew all the pieces, but he was coloring it and putting it all together in paint. And then so he's showing me what he's doing there, and I was impressed that he got paint to sing, because I've never been able to do anything with paint, and I don't know enough. But yeah, and it's good. He's an artist, and so he did what I can't do. And he loosely based the way she looks off of his own grandmother.
Oh.
And so he says he did that a lot for her honor and to remember her. And he loved that when he would go to his grandmother's house, she always told him to go watch, or let him watch Sunday morning cartoons. So
yeah, I thought that if this was ever turned into a cartoon or a comic strip, it would be great. Because the way it starts the same and ends similar each chapter.
Yeah,
it really would be a good.
Yeah, but that would take a lot of time, and I don't think he has that kind of time. Yeah. He's good, but he doesn't have that kind of time. So,
would he be interested in helping anyone else with their illustrations? Do you think?
I'm sure he would.
Okay, maybe we could give his information here, and then they could contact him and maybe.
Yeah, his name's Mike Kirsten, and
maybe
I guess you could get a hold of me through the website or the email or the blog, and I could pass that information on.
Okay.
But yeah, he's very easy to get along with and work with, and so yeah.
Because I know a few children's authors who are looking for illustrators.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that'd
good.
be great. So it'd be matina@gmail.com, and it'll also be on the bottom of the screen too if they want to
Okay.
contact you.
Or they're writing a book if you buy the book at Amazon.com.
There you go.
At the back there's the back of the book there is information about to the webs or to the email and to the blog.
Okay, wonderful. And so one of the things that I was curious about was your favorite part of writing. What was your favorite part of writing this book?
Trying to decide whether I've gone too far or not. At a certain point, you could just run into
Like slap happy kind of thing?
No.
Okay.
At a certain point, you run into that's just stupid and gross, right? Even for fifth graders, and I may have gone well beyond that in places anyway, but I know
I thought
there
it
have
was
been,
fine.
Okay, there were times though I had to take things out. I just realized that was not appropriate. And there are things that I didn't even think about that my wife brings up later. Like she says, my wife says, there is more alcohol in this book for it being a kid's book. I never even noticed it.
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice it either.
Yeah, but there is. I mean, at one point, Tina and Grandma Tina and Claire are playing Scrabble. And Grandma Tina asked Claire if she wanted anything to drink, and Claire thought, "Ooh, I want one of her expensive beers." And so Grandma comes back and gives her an apple juicy box. Didn't give her a beer, but the fact
Which is appropriate.
but was the fact that she even said that I even brought up the concept. My wife's like, "That's a kid's book,"
Yeah,
and so there was
yeah.
a couple of times like that in there that I thought I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
But my wife's like, "Yeah, this is a kid's book. It shouldn't even be in there." I'm like, "Okay." So, but I didn't take it out.
Who do you think is the target audience for this book? Fifth grade?
Kids. Oh yeah.
Kids?
Yeah, kids with. My daughter's 13. She's now 13, but actually I think she was 10 when I was writing the stories, and she loved it. My son, he was 8. He loved it. My 8-year-old daughter, who was, 5 or 6 then, she didn't get it.
Okay.
And so so that may have been too young, she was just too young, but it's more for your 10-year-olds and your 8 to 13-year-olds, because my 13-year-old still loves Grandma Tina, so.
Oh, okay. Great. There in Proverbs it says, "A merry heart does good like medicine."
Mhm.
And I feel like, any age, like me and my husband read it and we're cracking up. I think you just pick it up, it just does your heart good.
Right.
It's just
And
funny
it's
and
fun
enjoyable.
to laugh. It's fun to laugh, and I find it best to read it out loud.
Oh, okay, because that's the way that it was written. It was,
Yes.
It was to be read
Yes.
as a bedtime story.
Not even bedtime story, just as just any time story. When my sister-in-law came over, we had her read it to the kids, and she's cracking up. She can't even get the words out without snorting, and that's fun to watch
Yeah.
people try to read it without laughing
Okay,
at times.
so it's a read out loud kind of book.
Yeah, because you can read it. And then my son, when we first got him published, he sat down, he read it from cover to cover, and he's there snickering the whole time, and he'd heard all the stories.
Yeah.
So it does, there are things that are just fun and funny.
Are there any other books in the works?
I've written one, another one, and me and Mike were working on it, but my wife said no until I start selling this one. So it's in the can.
So buy the book.
Yeah, that's right, a lot.
Okay. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show. Your newest book, The Crazy Antics of Grandma Tina, is absolutely hilarious, and you guys are going to love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for watching, everybody, and remember to keep sharing the good news.